Hello, fellow star distributors. Here we are yet again working on the development of Omega Gateway, upcoming 4X sci-fi game of the likes of Master of Orion 2 and Star Trek Birth of the Federation. Last time we worked on distributing systems on the grid and giving it a name. This time we are going to focus on the UI. We will also build the base code for supporting different players in the game and represent the presence of a ship in the grid. First, a couple of definitions. Why we really want to have 3D models of the ships at some point, like on the production list or in battle, in the zoomed out map of the galaxy we will only show an icon representing the presence of a ship or ships of a particular player. This works for most of the current 4X games out there right now, and it will be a good fit for our game as well. First, we are going to work a little bit on the UI. The plan is to have a menu on the left with a quick access to the main meta systems the game will have. We will draw a general information bar in the top that we will use, for instance, for showing money, and the churn information on the top right. I felt that showing the current player icon in the top left could also look cool and set the mood. Finally, I would like to have two extra information screens for the galaxy map. One that shows information on the selected item, for instance sector information about the system it has, or the number of types of ships on it, and then a smaller box where you can see quick info when hovering over a specific thing. We also need to define a player entity. We are just going to have a very simple class that has some very simple attributes on it. A player name, a player ID, which represents the number of the player in the game, the logo and the player color default to a stripe I already did on Paint.net, and a nice purplish. I haven't decided yet if we are going to have fixed races to choose from or we can edit them before we play. But in any case, it's a good idea to define players customizable like this. Then I decided that it would be very convenient to have some of our manager classes as singletons, so we can access them through the applications. I am not a big fan of this pattern, but it's really useful when implemented with classes that will only have a single instance in the whole application. Like for instance our new Game Manager. Game Manager will be in charge of dealing with settings related to the run itself, like the number of players, passing the turn, etc. We'll also define the main player, another method to get the current player at any moment. Our UI manager will be in charge of the interaction between the UI and the code, like for instance reading info somewhere as text. You all know the Galaxy Manager by now. For the time being it doesn't need to be a singleton because I don't need everyone to have access to it, but we can let the Game Manager have an instance of it as an attribute to call it from there. Finally, I'll add a Ship Manager, and for the time being it will only be in charge of holding all the ship prefabs we are going to have, so you can access all of them from wherever you want, for example if you need to instantiate one, like we are going to do in a minute. Talking about ships, we are going to have an abstract class called Ship that will hold the common attributes and methods for all the ships we are going to have. For the time being we are adding the owner, which is a player, a reference to the current sector that it is in, the speed value, a name, a class, some HP and shields, and a galactic range, which represents the distance the ship can go from an owned point, a mechanic I like from Birth of the Federation. The galactic range is just a very simple enum. With the abstract ship in place, we create an extremely simple destroyer class that inherits from it, and for the time being we just leave it empty. But now we can create a new prefab out of an empty game object and attach it to the destroyer as a component. This is where we are going to add a 3D model when we build one, but for the time being it's just going to be invisible. We will set some values for it and save it. Alright, now we build the UI as we planned. Again, we are going for a prototype here, so I will leave most of the default Unity look for the time being. That being said, it's not looking bad at all. The main challenge here was to use Unity's default layout components to make the things stay where we want them to stay. Of course, a lot of things need to be adjusted, but for the time being this will work. Also, I added a debug menu object with a button, a drop box and a text field. From here we are going to create ships to test. Before that, we will create a small controller for this debug menu. It will have as serialized fields both the text and the input text that we will use to get the coordinate where we want our ship, and the Dropbox values where we will get which type of ship we chose. We have to tell the Dropbox to contain all our available ships, and those will be coming from our ship manager as we mentioned before. On the ship manager, we just add a serialized attribute, available ships, and its getter. Now in the editor we add the destroyer prefab, so it has at least one element. Back on the debug controller, on its start method we tell it to read from the ship manager instance, and then we have to do this weird thing to populate the Dropbox. Basically we need to create some option values objects, and that's how you do it. Just don't question it, it works. You might be noticing all the red underline coming from the Unity engine.ui package. For some reason, Visual Studio Code is not finding this particular import, but the compiler in Unity is working fine. So bear with me and ignore it please. We finally add a new method to do the magic. This will take whatever is on the text box and try to convert whatever it is text into a char and then the numbers to create a new galaxy coordinate. We will also get the ship chosen from the Dropbox, where we will have only one now, and call our game manager with a new method to spawn a ship. This method will be a very simple relay between both classes, where we just get which sector belongs to the coordinates we set on the text, and then we add the ship to it. We will also add a new method on the Galaxy Sector class that finally does the thing, adds the ship into its list and instantiates it with the sector as the parent. We also slightly modify the Galaxy Sector prefab so it has a ship presence icon. For the time being, we'll just pick the player's icon and color and render it on the corner. We will have to make this check after every turn to see if there are ships present and then do stuff, but we can do that later. That should be it. We run the game, write down A4 as our sector, and what's happening here. So we would like to see an error if you write a non-existing coordinate, but we are very sure that A4 is in there. After some researching, I finally got the problem. C# checks the value of the dictionary we are using to get coordinates, comparing it with an equals, and although the row and column value of both coordinate objects, the one I'm sending from the debug controller and the one stored in the dictionary, are the same, there are two different objects in the end. So to fix this problem, I had to write a galaxy coordinate comparer that inherits from the interface that C# uses for comparison, iEquality comparer. On it, I could override the equals method, which is the one used to understand if two objects are the same. So we override it, telling it to consider two objects are equal if the string that they form is the same. So the two different coordinate objects that will have the same row or column are considered the same now. We also need to write a getHashCode method that should return a different number for every different coordinate. So we just form a number with the rows and columns and we add a 0 in the middle just in case. Finally, we modify the Galaxy Manager class so when we create the dictionary of the sectors, it uses the custom-made comparator. And now, as you can see, it works! Kinda. The icon is spawned where we told them, because we have one destroyer in it, but the rows and the columns are reversed. This should be A4, not this. In any case, this is significant progress for now. In the next video we are going to actually send information to the ugly UI we built, prepare a cool process for passing turns, and let's try to move the ship if we can. And as always, do you like what you're doing? Like the video and don't forget to leave some comments about it if you want. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more about Omega Gateway. Cheers peeps, and see you in the next galactic mission.